Have you ever felt like someone loves you, but at the same time, they're the one hurting you the most? Like they say all the right things. They hold you close. They tell you they care. They come back when you're about to give up, and somehow they're still the reason you cry at night. If you've ever sat there thinking, how can someone love me and still do this to me? I need you to stay with me for this, because there's a truth about love that almost nobody talks about. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. What if I told you? Sometimes the hardest person to let go of is the one who made you feel loved just enough to keep you attached, but never safe enough to feel at peace. What if I told you the pain isn't confusing because love is complicated? It's confusing because what you're calling love might actually be something else. And later in this video, I'm going to tell you the part that hurts the most, the reason they keep doing it, the reason it doesn't stop, and why deep down, they may understand exactly what they're doing. I want to tell you a story because maybe this story will sound a little too familiar. There was a girl, let's call her Mia. Mia met someone who at first felt like everything she had been praying for. He was attentive in the beginning. He texted good morning. He remembered little things. He asked how her day was, sent songs that reminded him of her, stayed up late talking about the future like he really meant it. And when he looked at her, she felt chosen. That's the part people don't understand. These situations don't usually begin with obvious pain. They begin with hope, with warmth, with chemistry, with moments that feel so real, you build your whole emotional world around them. But slowly, something changed. He started taking longer to reply, then disappearing for hours, then days. He'd cancel plans at the last minute, but somehow always had a reason that sounded just believable enough. Work was crazy. He was stressed. He had a lot on his mind. He wasn't good at expressing himself. And every time Mia started pulling away, every time she said, I can't keep doing this, he knew exactly what to do. He'd come back softer, sweeter, more loving than ever. He'd say, I'm sorry, I know I've been distant. He'd tell her, you matter to me. He'd promise, I'm going to do better. And for a few days, maybe even a week, he'd be present again, consistent again, loving again, just enough to make Mia feel like the version of him she fell for was still there. Just enough to make her doubt her own pain, just enough to make her stay. And that's where it gets dangerous, because the relationship became a cycle: pain, distance, confusion, then affection, apology, hope, over and over again. Mia wasn't holding on because she was weak. She was holding on because the good moments felt so genuine that the bad ones started to feel like exceptions. She kept telling herself, he does love me. He's just struggling. Maybe he's scared. Maybe he's been hurt. Maybe if I love him better, more clearly, more patiently, he'll finally feel safe enough to stop hurting me. And one night, after he ignored her the whole day and then posted himself out with friends, she finally broke. Not dramatic, not loud, just that quiet kind of heartbreak where something inside you gets tired. She texted him, I don't understand how you can say you care about me and still make me feel this, alone. And do you know what he said? He said, you know how I am. I never asked you to expect so much from me. That was the twist, because in that one sentence, Mia realized something devastating. He had spent months enjoying the love, loyalty, patience, and emotional labor she gave him, without ever truly taking responsibility for what it cost her. He liked being loved. He liked being forgiven. He liked having someone there, but loving her in a way that protected her feelings. That was never something he had fully committed to, and that's when it hit her. The problem wasn't that he loved her too deeply and got scared. The problem was that she kept mistaking his access to her for commitment to her. And I need you to hear that, because this is where most people get it wrong. Just because someone feels something for you doesn't mean they know how to love you. And just because they come back doesn't mean they've changed. And just because they cry, apologize, miss you, or say I love you does not mean they are capable of giving you the kind of love that doesn't keep breaking you. Let's be honest. A lot of people do love in a damaged way. They may feel attached to you, and they may want you. They may need your presence, your comfort, your forgiveness, your emotional support. But that doesn't automatically mean they're loving you in a healthy, mature, honest way. There's a big difference between loving someone and loving how they make you feel. There's a big difference between missing you and being willing to treat you right. There's a big difference between emotional intensity and emotional safety. And if you've been stuck in this kind of connection, you know exactly what I mean, because the relationship feels powerful. It feels magnetic. It feels impossible to walk away from, but somehow underneath all of that intensity, you feel anxious all the time. You overthink their tone. You replay conversations. You check your phone too much. You feel relief when they text back. And that relief feels like love, but it's not peace. It's not security. It's not the kind of love that lets your nervous system rest. It's survival dressed up as romance. And that's why emotional inconsistency is so powerful. When someone is hot and cold, your heart doesn't settle. It chases. You start craving the return of the version of them that once made you feel special. You become emotionally hooked on the contrast. The pain makes the affection feel more valuable. The silence makes the attention feel more meaningful. The distance makes the closeness feel intoxicating. But that's not because the love is deeper. It's because inconsistency creates obsession. Healthy love doesn't make you feel constantly deprived and then rewarded. That's not love growing. That's emotional conditioning. And I know that sounds intense, but stay with me. Because a lot of people who hurt you while claiming to love you are not necessarily doing it because they have zero feelings. Sometimes they do have feelings. Sometimes they do care in their own limited, immature, self-centered way. But real love is not measured by what someone feels when they might lose you. Real love is measured by how they treat you while they have you. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud, because feelings are easy to romanticize. Behavior is harder to argue with. If someone says, I love you, but keeps lying, disappearing, disrespecting your boundaries, making you feel small, breadcrumbing you, or only showing up when it's convenient for them, then whatever they feel is not translating into the kind of love you can build a life on. This is where attachment comes in. A lot of people confuse attachment with love. Attachment says, don't leave me. I need your energy. I need your attention. I need to know you're still there. Love says, I care about your well-being, even in the way I handle your heart. Attachment is scared of losing access. Love is careful not to misuse access. Attachment can be selfish. Love has responsibility. Attachment can say, stay with me because I feel empty without you. Love says, I want to be good to you, not just close to you. And some people, they are deeply attached to you, but they are not loving you with maturity. They don't want to lose you, but they also don't want to rise to the level required to keep you. So they do the minimum needed to prevent you from fully walking away. A text here, an apology there, a promise when you're done. A little burst of affection when your energy starts changing. Not enough to heal the relationship, just enough to reset your hope. And fear plays a huge role in this too. Some people hurt you because they are emotionally unavailable. Yes, but more specifically, they are afraid of accountability, afraid of intimacy that requires consistency, afraid of being fully seen and expected to show up. They want the benefits of closeness without the discipline of love. They want comfort without responsibility. They want loyalty without effort. They want understanding without change. And ego loves that arrangement, because ego says, as long as I can still come back and you'll still open the door, I don't really have to become better. Convenience says the same thing. Convenience says, why would I change when the connection still serves me as it is? I know that's painful to hear, but if you've been asking yourself, why do they keep hurting me if they love me? Sometimes the answer is this simple: because your pain has not cost them enough, because they still get your presence, they still get your forgiveness, they still get the emotional safety of knowing you care. And if they can wound you and still keep you, what motivation do they have to truly change? Now let's go even deeper, because the next question is harder. Why do you stay? Why do intelligent, loving, self-aware people stay in dynamics that clearly hurt them? And if that's you, I want to say this gently. It's not because you're stupid. It's not because you're dramatic. And it's not because you secretly enjoy pain. A lot of the time you stay because losing them feels more terrifying than losing yourself. You stay because you remember the version of them that made you feel alive. You stay because every once in a while, they give you just enough tenderness to make the whole thing feel redeemable. You stay because your heart has invested a story in them, not just who they are, but who you believe they could be. And sometimes, if we're really honest, you stay because part of you believes this is the best you can get. That maybe love is supposed to be hard like this. Maybe if you're patient enough, worthy enough, attractive enough, understanding enough, they'll finally choose you properly. That's low self-worth talking. Not loudly, not in an obvious way. Sometimes low self-worth sounds like, I just see the good in people. Sometimes it sounds like, I know they've been through a lot. Sometimes it sounds like, nobody's perfect. And yes, all of that can be true, but when your compassion for them becomes betrayal of yourself, that's not love anymore. That's self-abandonment. And then there's emotional addiction. This part is real. When someone gives you affection unpredictably, your body starts reacting to the highs and lows. You don't just miss them. You crave the relief of being chosen again. You crave the text, the apology, the sudden warmth after distance, the moment they act like the person you fell for. And because the reward is inconsistent, it hits even harder. So now you're not only emotionally attached, you're chemically hooked on the cycle. That's why leaving can feel like withdrawal. That's why peace can feel boring at first. That's why healthy love sometimes feels unfamiliar to people who are used to chaos. And now I need to tell you the second twist, the truth no one tells you, the truth that changes everything. They're not always confused. They're not always just figuring things out. They're not always unaware of the impact they have on you. Sometimes they know exactly how much you love them. They know exactly how much you tolerate. They know you'll answer. They know you'll forgive. They know you'll stay a little longer. And that's why they keep testing the line, not because they don't see it, but because they've learned where it is. That's the part that breaks people. Because it's easier to cope with the idea that they're confused than to accept that they may simply be comfortable with your loyalty, comfortable with your softness, comfortable with the fact that you keep bleeding quietly and calling it understanding. And no, that doesn't always make them evil, but it does mean you need to stop romanticizing what is actually happening. If someone repeatedly hurts you, hears your pain, promises change, and continues the same behavior, that pattern is a decision, maybe not a loud one, maybe not a fully conscious one, but still a decision. And once you understand that, your next move becomes clearer. So what do? First, stop listening only to what they say when they're afraid to lose you. Start paying attention to what they do when they feel secure that you'll stay. That's who they really are in the relationship. Not the apology speech, not the panic when you pull away, not the sudden paragraph at 1 a.m. Watch the pattern. Patterns tell the truth that words try to cover. Second, stop explaining your pain to people who have already studied your wounds and still keep pressing on them. You do not need a perfect presentation. You do not need to say it one more beautiful way. If someone wanted to understand the damage they're causing, your tears would have been enough. Third, separate potential from reality. This is a big one. You are not in a relationship with their future self. You are in a relationship with their current behavior, not the person they could become, not the version of them that shows up once every 3 weeks, not the fantasy, the pattern. And if the pattern is hurting you, you have to make decisions based on what is true. Now, fourth, let your standards protect you, not just your feelings to guide you, because feelings will make excuses. Feelings will remember the good moments. Feelings will say, but I love them. Standards say, and I still don't deserve this. Standards are what keep you from confusing longing with alignment. Fifth, learn to sit in the grief without running back to the source of it. This is hard, maybe the hardest part, because when you finally pull away, there will be loneliness. There will be doubt. There will be nights when you miss them so much, you almost convince yourself it wasn't that bad. That's when you have to remember, missing someone is not proof you belong with them. Loving someone is not proof they are good for you. And being hurt by someone repeatedly is not a test of how patient your heart can be. It's information. Use it, talk it, and finally, rebuild self-respect in quiet ways. Not dramatic revenge, not pretending you don't care. Real self-respect. Answering less quickly when you know they only show up for access. Keeping your boundary even when you miss them. Not letting guilt drag you back into confusion. Talking to yourself with more honesty. Choosing peace even when peace feels unfamiliar. Self-respect is not loud. Sometimes it sounds like, no, this doesn't work for me anymore. Sometimes it sounds like silence. Sometimes it sounds like leaving the message unopened. Sometimes it sounds like crying and still not going back. Because healing is not always glamorous. Sometimes healing is just refusing to keep volunteering your heart to the same lesson. And if no one has told you this lately, let me tell you now. You are not too much for wanting consistency. You are not needy for wanting clarity. You are not asking for the impossible because you want love that feels safe. That is not too much. That is the bare minimum of a healthy connection. The right person will not make you beg for the basics. They will not make you question whether love is supposed to hurt this much. They will not keep you close while steadily breaking your spirit. And yes, every relationship has hard moments. Yes, people make mistakes. Yes, humans are imperfect, but there is a difference between being imperfect and being repeatedly harmful. Don't confuse the two. So if this video found you in the middle of that confusion, if part of you has been holding on to someone who says they love you while their behavior keeps proving otherwise, maybe this is your sign to stop asking whether they feel something and start asking a better question. Is this love teaching me peace or training me to tolerate pain? That question can change your life, because the moment you stop calling hurt love, you start seeing clearly, and clarity is where your freedom begins. You deserve a love that can keep putting you in recovery mode. You deserve a love that feels honest when it says, I care about you. You deserve a love that doesn't just want access to your heart, but knows how to handle it with care. And if they made you feel like you had to shrink, wait, suffer, or prove your worth just to keep them, then maybe losing them is not the tragedy you think it is. Maybe losing them is how you finally stop losing yourself. And that matters. It matters more than the chemistry, more than the memories, more than the version of them you keep replaying in your head, because the right person will never make you question your worth just to stay in their life. They won't love you in a way that leaves you constantly bleeding and then call it misunderstanding. They won't make you earn what should come naturally in healthy love. Honesty, effort, respect, care. So before you go, I want you to be honest with yourself. What's one thing you've been excusing in the name of love that you know has been hurting you? If you feel comfortable, leave it in the comments. Sometimes telling the truth is the first step toward getting free. And if this felt like a conversation you needed today, stay close. Subscribe if you want more honest talks like this. Nothing fake, nothing sugar-coated, just the truth that helps you heal. And remember, love should open your heart, not teach you to survive heartbreak in the same place you call home.